Hello and welcome to another video for the yearbook. Today we are going to be talking about Wolf, Minmatar Assault Frigate. This ship is another crowd favorite. This is the second most popular assault frigate after Retribution, but in terms of win rates, this is actually the second worst frigate, only ahead of Harpy. And in my experience, this ship is really like below average nowadays in the current meta. We will talk in more detail about the problems with this ship. For now, I just want to say that it is usable, it has its strengths, but it also has a bunch of weaknesses, and there are some better options in general, unless you want to fly the Minmatar Assault Frigate specifically. Wolf has the same slot layout as Retribution, so 5 to 5, and similarly to Retribution, when you see only 2 medium slots, you want to try and make kiting feet work. And Wolf is not as one-dimensional as Retribution, so it can brawl pretty reasonably, but I would say kiting is still the most common and probably the strongest role for this ship. The biggest advantage and probably the biggest reason why you want to use Wolf is its speed. This ship is incredibly fast by assault frigate standards and in general. Like even if you compare Wolf against attack frigates, Tactic 1 frigates, it's still quite competitive in terms of overall speed. So you will be very fast and very agile kiter. Unfortunately, the projection, tank, and damage are all really bad, and these features kind of compensate for the strength of speed and agility for this ship. As I said, Wolf can brawl, and it can brawl quite a bit better than Retribution because it's not as vulnerable to electronic warfare, so you can't really cap it out because it has capless guns, and you can't really mitigate with tracking disruption because autocannons have very good tracking. Brawling wolves are quite common in faction warfare. I think it's still the secondary role, but they are quite common. In terms of performance and engagement map, it looks pretty average for assault frigate. Of course, you can easily kill most Tech 1 destroyers and Tech 1 frigates. Against Navy frigates, the typical problem is the lack of control, but Brawling Wolf in terms of tank and DPS can engage Navy frigates very reasonably. It just does not have the control to secure the kill most of the time. Against Navy destroyers, the biggest problem is just tank to DPS. In Brawling feats, the tank and DPS is not very competitive unless you fight against ships that shoot into your Tech 2 resists. And in kiting feat, you will kill all close-range Navy destroyers, but you will struggle against most long-range Navy destroyers. And against assault frigates, Wolf, I think, is quite decent because of ability to select damage. But again, tank to DPS, like in some cases, stronger assault frigates can simply out-control and out-tank Wolf. But most of matchups against assault frigates are very engageable. Okay, now let's look at feats. I think the first feat that comes to everyone's mind when they talk about Wolf is the artillery kiting feat. This one, I would say, is the most popular and reasonable Wolf feat. So you have for 280 mm artillery in high slots, double nano in low slots, micro warp drive and warp disruptor in medium slots. The biggest strength of this feat is speed and agility. You get almost up to 3.7 kilometers per second, and it is on par with fast Tactic 1 frigates, which is very fast and very competitive for the assault frigate. So in this you can actually engage out of position very comfortably. Very few ships will be able to catch you on the warping. Now, what are the trade-offs? Well, almost everything else is a trade-off. So your DPS is really not that great. 200 DPS looks decent, but actually quite a lot will be lost in the fall-off. When your tank is non-existent, 4.3, and you can't really run your ancillary rep because your cap is so weak. When the cap is quite weak for this ship, 2 minutes for a ship that has this amount of DPS means that you will very likely face some challenges with the cap management in most fights. And finally, probably the biggest problem is projection. As you can see, you can project enough damage to the point range, so you can still apply decent DPS, and you can switch to depleted uranium if you want a bit more range. But if you compare it to Kytinn Retribution, Kytinn Ishkor, Kytinn Hawk, they project the same DPS to probably triple the range. And of course, much larger range gives you more flexibility on grid. So you don't need to commit to apply your damage, and maybe you can clear the grid a bit easier in these ships than in Wolf. In Wolf, you kind of have to commit to apply DPS, and it means that this ship is more difficult and less forgiving to fly than these alternative assault frigate kiters. The second feat, which also follows the kiting role, is autocannon kite. It's less popular, but it also works pretty well. You have autocannons in high slots with barrage and rigs on fall-off. And as you can see, it is enough to project pretty decent DPS to the tackle range. The DPS will be a bit lower on paper, but because you have a much better tracking, it's probably pretty comparable in practice with artillery kiting feat. Now, what are the trade-offs between these feats? With autocannon feat, you have more tank, and you can fight against anti-kiters much better, because even if you get caught, you can simply switch to the appropriate faction ammo and still dish out pretty decent DPS. With artillery kiting feat, if you are caught, you are just dead instantly. The downside is that you get worse speed. 3K is still competitive for assault frigate kiter, but it's not as good as on the kiting feat. Now, the final feat I wanted to show is the Brawling autocannon Wolf. As usual with Minmatar scrum range frigates, it is kind of a jack of all trades and king of none. It can brawl, but not as well as specialized blaster brawlers. It can scrum kite, but not as well as specialized Scrum kiters. It's pretty fast and can play even anti-kiting role if you somehow engage a kiting ship, but it's not that fast. The control is pretty poor, so if you fight against Scrum Kiter with like even a single web or even two webs, you just not gonna get a kill, because this ship just can't secure kills due to poor control. But it's usable in any of these roles. It's not bad. It's just not the best, but it works everywhere. So if you just want a ship that that you can engage everything with pretty reasonable chances for a win, this ship will work fine, and it's pretty cheap. There are practically no expensive modules here. You can even downgrade the Tech 2 DPS rig. Alright, I hope you found it useful. These were the most popular and I think the best fits for Wolf, and I will see you in the next videos.